Hello everybody, good morning and namaste. You are most welcome to your online class of physical education. Today we are going to continue our same chapter, training method. Training method. And our today's topic will be on interval training method. Interval training method. Last time we completed our continuous training method. That means we have to continue all the exercises without any resting period. And our today's topic is about interval training method. It means there will be some rest in between exercises. And this training method involves repeated effort at a relatively faster pace with measured intervals of complete recovery. And this method was introduced by Waldemar and Gressler. Introduced by Waldemar and Gressler. And this system comes from interval which means rest between exercises, rest period between exercises. And Waldemar and Gressler introduced this method in 1939. In 1939. The interval training method is widely used for the development of speed and endurance. This method is widely used for the development of speed and endurance. It is a training that contains fast and slow periods of exercises. In interval training, short periods of load are followed by short period of rest. For example, an athlete can perform the greatest volume of work by breaking it into small portions or periods. And the basic principles of the interval training lies in the fact that an athlete is directed to cover a specific distance within a definite time period. Basic principle of interval training. What is the basic principle of interval training is an athlete is directed to cover a specific distance within a definite time period. Within a definite time period. This is the basic principle of interval training, lies in the fact that an athlete is directed to cover a specific distance within a definite time period so that he achieves maximum heart rate, and then a pause is given which is insufficient for complete recovery. So that he achieves maximal heart rate, and then a pause is given which is insufficient for complete recovery. Here what you have to do, whenever you are going to do any circuit training, then you have to give pause or rest in between each exercise. It is interval training. When the heart rate of athlete comes down between 110 to 120 beats per minute, the next repetition is started at once. In this manner, the load is repeated many times. In order to improve the efficiency of an athlete, the load is increased by changing one of the following variables: rate and distance of work. How much distance is there and what is the intensity to cover the distance? It will depend upon your training method. Number of repetitions. How many repetitions you have to give during your interval training? Type of activity during the rest intervals. When you are taking rest, then what you have to do? You have to be active at that time also. So these are the variations. In interval training, you have to see rate and distance of the work. Number of repetitions. How many repetitions are there? Duration of rest. How much rest you have to take in between exercise? And type of activity during the rest intervals. When you are taking rest, then what type of activity at that time you have to do? Now the interval training method is of two types. Two types of interval methods are there. Two type of interval methods. Number one is intensive interval training method. Intensive interval training method. In this method, intensity will be very high. The intensity is very high, 80 to 90%. This method is generally used for the development of speed, endurance, explosive strength, endurance, and maximum strength among athletes. So this method is generally used for the development of speed, endurance, explosive strength, means your speed plus thrust. Next, strength endurance. Especially for weightlifters. And maximum strength among athletes. And maximum strength among athlete. So this method is extremely valuable when the preparation time is less. Next is extensive interval training method. Extensive interval training method. Here, the intensity in this method is about 60 to 80%. Intensity is just low, comparable to the intensive interval training method. Its intensity will be 60 to 80%. 60 to 80%. In this method, general endurance, strength are developed in an athlete. Endurance and strength. Only endurance and strength developed. This training should be provided during the pre-competition. Should be provided this training should be provided during the pre-competition period. Before the competition, you have to adopt this extensive training method. Here, number of repetition is required in this, but intensity will be low. Speed will be slow. Now, what are the advantages of the interval training method? Advantages: more workout. First advantage is what? More workout can be performed in a short duration. More workout can be performed in short duration. If you have very less time for competition, then you can adopt interval training method. It is more beneficial for respiratory and circulatory system. It is more beneficial for respiratory and circulatory system. Your vital capacity and cardiac output will be more if you are doing the same method, interval training method. With the help of interval training method, your cardiac muscles will be more strong. So it is more beneficial for respiratory and circulatory system, and both can be trained at the same time. Self-evaluation. Number third is evaluation. What it means? Progress of the athlete can be measured early. Progress of the athlete can be measured easily. Next advantage, better result. Better result. It means it gives a better result in a short time. Better result in a short time. It means an athlete achieves his peak performance in a short time. Fair judgment. Fair judgment. Athletes get fair judgment easily with the help of this interval training method. Next is suggestion can be given by a coach. Suggestion can be given by a coach. It means suggestions can be given by a coach to athlete during recovery phase regarding any fault. If athlete is doing something wrong during his training session, then coach can give him suggestion. So these are the advantages of interval training method. Now there are few disadvantages also of this training. Number one, top performance come before competition. Comes before competition. What happened in this? Top performance comes before competitions and may not be maintained up to the competition time. You are giving your best before the competition, and it is too difficult to maintain it till your final. Next, chances of injuries. Because when you take interval time, at that time your body cool down, and because of this there are more chances of injuries. If your body will be cooled down, then again you will not be easy to do the same work. with the perfection. So these are the disadvantages. Top performance comes before the competition. So it is difficult to maintain it till your actual competition, and chances of injuries. So this is our interval training method. Again, I am going to discuss it in brief. First of all, we have to know what is the meaning of interval. Interval means rest period in between exercise. Last time we did continuous method. There is no rest period or pause or any break in between exercises. But here in interval training method, we have to give pause, break or rest period in between exercises. Waldemar and Gressler introduced this method in 1939, and it is widely used for development of speed and endurance. This method is especially for speed and endurance. And basic principle of this method is an athlete is directed to cover a specific distance within a definite time period, so that he achieves maximal heart rate, and then a pause is given which is insufficient for complete recovery. And there are two types of interval training method. Number one is intensive. Intensive, here intensity is very high, 80 to 90%. And this method is generally used for the development of speed, endurance, explosive strength, strength endurance and maximum strength among athletes. Number second is extensive interval training method. Here intensity will be just low, comparable to the intensive method. Its intensity will be 60 to 80%. And it is only for endurance and strength. Next advantage is more workout can be performed in short duration. More beneficial for respiratory and circulatory system. Evaluation. Progress of the athlete can be measured easily. Better result in a short time. Fair judgment. Judgment will be fair. And suggestion can be given by the coach to the athlete if he is doing any fault during the training session. And there are two disadvantages of this training method. Number one is top performance comes from competition. Top performance comes before competition, and it is too difficult to maintain till last. Next is because of interval, body come cool, so that there are lot of chances of injuries.